Hi everyone, welcome back. Welcome to Kokum Blue, and this is going to be Kokum's Cooking Corner, teaching you how to make fry bread. So first of all, we're going to start off by making sure we have our rings off, and we're going to give our hands a wash. So I filled up my sink here with some nice soapy water, and we're going to give our hands a good wash, making sure we get all the little nooks and crannies. Cleaning ourselves off.
Vanessa and May are there.
And then we're going to rinse us off. Give our hands a dry. So you may want to have these things handy if you're cooking along with us. If we're going a little bit too fast, just let me know and we will slow down a little bit. I have someone who's filming this for me and keeping an eye on your comments. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Dawn says sanitize.
So everything's been sanitized.
Bobby Joe. Dawn says hi, camera person.
So we're going to add 2 cups of flour. And we don't have to be too thorough, but nice big cups. And we put that in our bowl. Now if you're making this for 5-6 people, you may want to double this recipe. So you would then have to add 4 cups of flour. So we'll put that back on there. Very important that we use baking powder. With the baking powder, we are using a tablespoon. Not the teaspoon, a tablespoon. So into the flour, we're going to put 2 tablespoons of baking powder. And so that the container that the baking powder is in usually has a flip-up lid, and you can pretty much level them off. And then we just sprinkle it all over.
Grandkids are watching. Say hi.
I understand my grandkids are watching, so I want to say hello to them. So that's a good thing.
We're having a problem with the wireless. It kicks out once in a while.
Okay, so are we good to go? Okay, so into the 2 cups of flour, the 2 tablespoons of baking powder, we're going to add a teaspoon of salt. Of course, if you have high blood pressure or you just don't like salt, you don't have to add it in, but I find if you don't add it in, it doesn't quite have the same taste, but then again, I do like my salt. So then we just give this a quick stir around, just using the same spoon from the salt. That's the last one I used. So we're going to give it a quick mush around. One of the secrets of fry bread is you're not to handle the dough very much once you have the water into it. So the less you handle the dough, the better your fry bread will come out. So what I usually do is I just make a little well in the middle so that I can add in the water, and which I'm going to use warm water. Not hot, not cold, but warm. And we're going to start off, I'm going to leave the water running for a second because I may need to add a little bit more. Sometimes it takes a little more, sometimes not. So what I'll do is I'll pour that into the well, and then I'll put some more in my cup just to be ready in case I need a little bit more. And I'll have that sitting by waiting. So now what I find the best to do is to take your hands and kind of make them like they were little otter paws. So keep your fingers together and you'll have less dough between them. And gradually start adding in the flour to the center. It'll start coming out, and then gradually you just kind of fluff it all together. Like so.
Dawn says exact science.
Baking usually is paying attention to the measurements, but with fry bread, after a while when you start to make this, you'll be able to just judge it by eye. and you won't have to be so worried about the exact measurements. We're frying it, so we're not baking it in the oven. I find things you have to bake in the oven, you have to be more specific with your measurements. Now to me this looks a little bit too dry. So if you can see how this is, it's kind of a little bit too crumbly. So if it's too crumbly like this, we're going to add a little bit more water. And that's why I said to you, make sure you have your water standing by. So, and now this is the important part. Just pour a little bit in and start again to mix in, because we don't want to make it too wet, because then we'll have to add more flour. Say hello to everybody watching. So, I'm glad you guys tuned in and are standing by to watch. You'll find this is very, very easy to make. It's great on a weekend when the parents are home with their kids. They can help make it as well. You'll also find that it's great to eat with. I have a couple things here on the counter. We'll zoom on that for a sec, which are maple syrup and jam, and then of course butter. So these are my favorites for adding to fry bread. When it first comes out of the pan, when it's nice and hot. You can also make scone dogs with this same mixture. You just have to have some hot dogs and wrap it in the batter, and then you can throw it into the frying pan once it's hot.
Daryl says Chef Blue RD.
So somebody's calling me Chef Blue RD, so I guess that's a pretty good one, that I'm Chef Blue RD. So now I find this is this mixture like this is just about right. As you can see, it's a little bit sticky. It holds its form. So what we'll be doing is, when we're actually making the fry bread, we'll be taking a ball of the dough, about that size, and then what we'll do is we'll stretch it out like so, and then we will throw it in the pan while the oil is hot. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some oil in the pan. So I'm just going to take some of this dough off. My little otter paws are all stuck with dough now. And then we will get that stove going. Anybody have any questions so far? When I'm washing my hands,
Let me see.
you can ask some questions.
There's Jasmine, Daryl, Vanessa, Louise. They're just saying hello. Dawn, Sean, S.A. Kathleen, Sue Lynn, Belinda,
My goodness, how many people
Marcus,
do we have watching?
Allie, Nancy, Kim.
Sounds like we got quite a few people watching, which is amazing. I didn't think you guys would be this interested in this, but
Allie wants to know what you're making.
we're making fry bread, Allie. You should be here having some, but we're in social quarantine, so we kind of can't have a kitchen party right now, but maybe later. Anybody wants to have a kitchen party, we can do that. You can put anything you like on your fry bread.
Oh, Marcus is asking, did you add fat?
No, no fat, Marcus. The fat is going to come from when we fry it in the pan. Some people do make their fry bread with lard, but I find that you don't really need it once you're frying it. If you were baking it in the oven, making bannock, then I would use my lard to make sure that it stays moist. But because we're frying this bread and not baking it, we're going to not put lard in our mixture. Again, I'll repeat it. 2 cups of flour.
Yeah, they want their ingredients.
2 cups of flour.
Just say, here's the ingredients again.
Oh, here's the ingredients again.
Okay.
2 cups of flour. 2 tablespoons of baking powder, which there's several brands. I have this one here, which is Fleshman's Double Acting Baking Powder. It doesn't have to be double acting. This one happens to be gluten-free too, for those of you that are gluten-free. Then we use a teaspoon of salt. This is sea salt, so 1 teaspoon of that. And I think in this batch here with this 2 cups of flour, I used 1 and probably a 1/3 cup of water. You can rewatch this again. You can save it on your feed and then rewatch it. You'll be able to tell as you're mixing it how much more water, if you need more water, that you will need to put in it. It shouldn't be too dry and it shouldn't be too wet. So that's 1 cup of oil
In the frying pan.
in the frying pan. And that's 2 cups of oil in the frying pan. I find I don't need more than 2 cups. I don't really want to have it totally covered with oil because we'll be turning it halfway as it gets golden brown. So we're going to turn it on to high. This is a part where you have to now make sure that you have your hands free because you're going to be having to flip these over, put them in your extra pan that I suggested. I don't want to put it too close to the heat, but mine I just have a Pyrex baking pan, and then I just throw in my dish towel, and this is where the fry bread will go after we turn it over and it's golden brown, and then I just cover it and help absorb some of the grease. And then I just put this into a plastic bag, and when I do my laundry I do it separate, and then that way you don't have to waste paper towels trying to keep the paper towels for our cleaning with this COVID-19. So the oil is heating up on high. This is our fry bread, how it looks. You may want to keep your top off your flour because if the dough gets a little bit sticky on your hands, what I do is I just sprinkle a little bit more flour on the top of this before we're going to start dividing it up and starting to bake it, so that way my hands aren't going to stick. So a little bit on your hands, just a light dusting. Did we have any questions so far?
Just say you'll repeat the ingredients at the end again if you want.
Okay, so at the end of the video, I will repeat the ingredients again for you. And as I say, with your feed, there should be, I believe, 3 little dots on the top when you're rewatching this of the news feed. And you can click on there and it says save video, and then you can save that. And if you do have any questions afterwards, even if when you make it a week later or whenever you decide to make it, if you're not making it with us, then you can message me and I can answer your questions. Also, that I want people to show us your pictures of your fry bread when you do make it. So post your pictures of your fry bread. One thing that I tried, which is not Indigenous or First Nation, because this is for everybody. So this is for the settler clan, the bear clans, the wolf clans, the turtle clans, all those clans from our Indigenous brothers and sisters. And we have Bepsi here. So, you know, we have to have Bepsi because that's what we drink. It's the best drink that they ever made. Now I lost my train of thought. See, that's what happens when you become Kokum's Korner cooking.
Question is, what do you have the heat on the stove turned up to?
The heat on the stove is on high. So I have a flat burner. So this will just turn off and on, and cycle through the heat. I'm keeping an eye on it. You'll be able to tell when it starts to bubble a little bit around the sides that your oil is ready. If you're not, you know, if you don't really cook a lot, what you can do is just take a little small piece of your fry bread, and I mean very small, drop it into the center, well, not quite center, the center of your pan, and then that will tell you as it starts to bubble, which it's starting to do, but we want to make sure it's a good bubble before we start to fry our fry bread. And you're going to need a set of tongs. I like the tongs because you have better control turning it over because you don't want to splash your oil all over your stove.
And do a caution about the hot oil.
Yeah, make sure that you're very careful with the hot oil. You have your handle turned in so that you can't accidentally knock it off or knock it over as you're passing back and forth. When you do make your fry bread, you may want to try it with feta cheese and fresh basil. To me, I wasn't quite sure about that, but once I tried it at one of my jobs that I do, we had a fry bread workshop at lunchtime, and we made a whole bunch of fry bread, and people brought in what they thought they would like on fry bread, and somebody brought in fresh feta with basil, fresh basil, and man, was it ever good. So you can make sandwiches with this, you can have it as a dessert, you can sprinkle powder sugar on top of it. When it comes out of the hot oil, you can put white sugar or brown sugar or demerara sugar right on top of it, so it's like a treat. Or you can have it hearty with butter, put some cold cuts in there, make sandwiches, or you can have it with jam, maple syrup this time of the year. Our syrup has been flowing and everybody has been busy boiling down their maple sap. So this is a good time to start to make fry bread as well this time of the year.
So question is, my oil is starting to make noise.
So your oil's starting to make noise. That means it's ready. So I'm just going to put this little piece aside for now. And I'm going to start to put mine in too because mine is ready. So this was the first piece that I said to you that we were going to drop in the oil. And you want to have it like a fair sized piece, right? You don't want to have it like little tiny pieces unless that's the way you like it. And so we stretch it out and then we drop it into the oil. So you'll be able to maybe hear it starting to bubble a little bit there. And I'm just making another ball. And again, I'm going to...
And you can do this camping?
Just flatten it out. This is great to do if you're camping. Bring your flour with you in a baggie. You can have everything already all measured out in it. Your baking powder, your salt. And so all you then have to do is heat up your oil. You can do that over a wood fire. And this will be great for camping. I've done it before at camping. So it's fairly easy to do. Like anything, as you keep working with it, you become better at it. But as I say, when you're stretching this out now to put into the oil, try not to handle it too much. Say the more you handle it, the tougher it will become. And so I've got 3 different sizes in here right now.
Does your oil smoke?
Your oil shouldn't smoke. If it's smoking, you may need to turn it down just a little bit. It will, however, smell like oil cooking. That's completely normal. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to make sure that we have our tongs ready. And then what I usually do is I just lift it a little, take a peek, just starting to turn color. This one went in second. Just starting to turn a little bit color. And you can put more than 3 in there, but I like to do 3 at a time because I like to have it spaced out. I don't like my food, I don't like it touching. My fry bread, I don't like it touching either because it'll stick together. Makes it harder for you to turn, harder for you to handle, harder for you to take care of while it's cooking. So now this is the waiting part. You can let your dough sit for 15-20 minutes if you're busy doing something else before you actually start to fry it up. But I find with the 2 tablespoons of the baking powder, it does rise up really nice and you don't have to wait for it to rise. It's not like it's you have to use like self-rising yeasts or anything like those. Baking powder is wonderful for fry bread.
So you're utilizing social distancing for the fry bread?
I am.
From Connie.
Yep, I am. This is a way for us to get together and to still maintain our friendships, a way for us to give people something for them to do while they're maintaining their social distances in their houses. Something new to learn. It's really hard for us extroverts being inside and away from people, not having that communication face to face. But for other people, it can be not so hard. So I figured this would be a good way for us to reach out to each other, make something that's fun and interesting. A lot of people always want to know how to make fry bread because it is so quick and easy. You can make this within a half an hour with your family after work. Some people will say it's not that great for you because it's cooked in oil, but a little bit of oil never killed anybody.
And you can use it for Indian tacos.
Yes, this is great to make for Indian tacos. So this is how I like to keep mine at this color. So if you were making Indian tacos, you would fry up your ground beef and put in some kidney beans, put in some tomato sauce, cut up some lettuce, cut up some tomatoes, have some shredded cheese, have some sour cream, and you would make your meat mixture like you would make a sloppy joe mixture. And then as your fried bread was cooked, you would pour that on top of it, put on your lettuce, tomatoes, cheese, sour cream, whatever else you would like in your Indian tacos, and you'd have a quick, easy dinner for your family. So that one's doing really good. This one's just a little bit later because we did put it in afterwards. So we're going to turn that one over now. And we're going to turn this one over. So this is the way I like to have mine this color. I'm not sure if you can see a good view of it, but looks good to me. Yeah, and don't worry, I see a comment on there, a little bit of oil never hurt anybody. Nah, it never did. We need a little bit of oil to grease our insides and get everything moving sometimes. That's my thought anyways. I'm sure there might be some of you that will be like, oh, hell no. But if you want to just try it once so that you can say you had it, that's a good thing too. For those of you that might think that it's too harmful for you, well, I don't think there's any diet cooking oil. Olive oil is too thick, too heavy, so you can't cook with that, even though it is a much healthier oil. I've never tried to make it with coconut oil. I'm not sure how coconut oil holds the heat. You don't want something that cannot hold the heat, because you do have to have your temperature up high, as you see mine on here. Otherwise you won't get that golden brown look. So just to let you know that. If somebody does want to try it with coconut oil, let me know. That would be great. Not my favorite, but I'm willing to give it a try one day. So fry bread is coming along good.
Anya, Amanda says hi. May and Linda. Jackie's been watching this one.
I'm glad to see a whole bunch of people have tuned in. So this one here looks like it's ready. So this is what your fry bread should look like when it's ready. So one side and then the other side. And then I just give it a little quick shake. And that's where I lay it into my pan here. So there we go. There's both sides. And that was our little test piece, so I'm going to take that out so it doesn't burn. That's going to be Sydney's piece, my dog's piece. I don't want to give her too much, because she's getting older, and she does like fry bread, that's for sure. And she does like Indian tacos. So let's throw some more in the pan.
Nino says, feed me.
Feed me. Oh yeah, did I tell you I'm looking for a wife? So I'm always looking for a wife. So if you know anybody who's single and is a good person, likes to eat fry bread, likes to drink Pepsi, likes to go to ceremony, still likes to have their own stuff they like to do, that's pretty cool. So just thought I'd throw that out there. You know, might be someone out there looking for someone like me that can make fry bread. There we go. There's another nice one in there.
Question is, how do you know when the inside's done?
You know what? When you got that golden brown color, that's when you know the inside is done. That's why you need to make sure that you're using an oil that can take the heat, because you need the heat up.
And I guess it's not so thickly.
Yeah, and the thicker you do make this, the longer it will take to cook. So I usually make it probably maybe about 1/8 of an inch. I think that might sound about right. Just don't burn your hands as you drop it in.
People say they will keep a lookout for you.
Thanks for keeping a lookout. I do live in Peterborough, so...
And somebody must vacuum.
Yes, somebody must vacuum, that's for sure. I don't love to vacuum. I don't mind to wash dishes. I don't mind to do laundry. I don't mind to do grocery shopping. I love to cook.
Driving.
I like to drive. I can drive you anywhere. But I do not like to vacuum. Hurts my ears for some reason. I don't know why, but it just... That sound goes right through to my ears. And I'm not a big fan about that. So now this will be the last two that we're going to make. So we've got 3 in the pan. And we've got 3 in the bowl. So that's 6. And then we're going to have 2 more here, which will make 8. So 2 cups of flour will give you, should be at least 8 pieces of fry bread. And like I say, if you have a larger family, then by all means, you may want to double this recipe. Therefore, calling for 4 cups of flour, 4 tablespoons of baking powder, 2 tablespoons of salt, and then you would need probably 2 2.3 cup of water, and that would be your fry bread. So I'm just going to rinse my hands off again. I like to keep rinsing my hands off because I'm not a big fan of all the dough on it. Plus you keep your hands nice and clean. And then my assistant here, my great assistant, is getting everything ready for when we are gonna try some of this fry bread. Sorry about that. Oh yes, we are cooking good. There we go. Look at that.
Oh, with the salt, teaspoon or tablespoon?
Teaspoon with the salt. Tablespoon for the baking powder.
Right. Dawn says bleach in that water?
There is bleach in this water. My daughter is asking me if there's bleach in the water. She sure knows me well. She posted a picture the other day on Facebook of her cupboards, and they kind of look like mine. She had a full stock pantry and stocked fridge and vegetables. So it was great. So, but she does know me for the Javix.
Marion said, I add a tablespoon of duck fat to the oil. It makes the fry bread nice and crispy.
Oh, thank you, Marianne.
Marion?
Marion or Marianne?
Marion Buller.
Oh, Marion Buller. Marion Buller is watching us. Marion Buller is the Chief Commissioner from the National Inquiry. Welcome, Marion. Thank you for watching us, and I hope you're having fun watching this, and maybe when you have time you can get this going and have this, because I know your mouth is going to be watering with it. And thanks for tuning in, Marion, and
her suggestion with duck fat.
That people will like to know that you're still very much involved with all the communities and all the events and everything that's happening. And thank you for your suggestion of adding the duck fat. I guess I'll have to go out and kill some ducks so I can get some duck fat. Or any of my hunter friends, once this COVID is finished, can drop me off some duck fat. I guess we could probably use bacon fat too. Bacon's really good. I like bacon. So these ones rose up a little bit higher, as you can see. Kind of thick these ones are.
Looks like a donut.
So that would be
Looks like
awesome.
A honey dip donut.
So,
and the person that's doing the camera, I have it attached to a hockey stick, so yes, I'm 6 feet away.
oh yes, the person who is filming this is 6 feet away with a hockey stick. Good, we're in Canada, so using a hockey stick to have our social distancing.
The phone's attached to the hockey stick.
The phone is taped to the hockey stick. Yes, with duct tape. So I'm going to put these in here now. So there's our 6, and our last 2 are going in now.
Dawn asks hangover soup later.
You know what? If you guys would like to know how to make hangover soup, I'd love to teach you how to make hangover soup. We can do that maybe on Tuesday. I do have some ground beef. For that, you would need ground beef. You would need some canned tomatoes. You would need some onion. Let me see, what else are we going to throw in there? Salt and pepper. You can put some vegetables in if you like vegetables in it, but not necessarily. You can have some frozen vegetables if that's all you have, or broccoli, or carrots, or cauliflower. It's all going to work out good. But if you'd like to know how to make hangover soup, we can do that, and that's good for people who are on a budget, especially right now with people being so panicky about the COVID virus, not knowing how long we'll be off for, how we're going to be receiving money for those of us that may not be able to be paid. Fortunately for me, I'm off right now because the colleges are closed, and we are going to be paid for right now, but you know, you never know the longer this drags on. So it is really important, and I do want to stress with people that we maintain our social distance. Only go out when you absolutely need something. When you need to go to the supermarket to pick up some groceries, if you need to go to the pharmacy. Nothing wrong with going for a car ride in your car by yourself, as long as you're not getting out and talking with people and going into stores and places like that. But the better we keep this isolated, the quicker this will be over, the quicker we can get back to being able to be social together with each other. But they are saying it's going to take quite a while, so you know, I think we're in this for the long haul, and
So planning some
you know,
food that stretches out. How long does this last for? Like if you set it aside?
If you want to set your fry bread aside, and like you could keep this for 2 days, no problem, 2-3 days. One of the great ways of reheating your fry bread is to throw it in your microwave if you have a microwave, or put it in your oven on a really low temperature, like maybe 200, 225 degrees.
Do you wrap it in tin foil?
It up. I wouldn't wrap it up. I just put it on a baking sheet or in a Pyrex bowl on a really low temperature, 200, 225. It'll warm it up. It'll help make it softer again. So I know some of you don't like to use microwaves, but for me, I zap it in the microwave for about 15, 20 seconds. Softens it up again, and you're good to go with that.
And again,
so as you see, the oil is, as it gets hotter, it gets darker. So if you look at our first ones, which are right here, these three, they're not quite as dark. And then the next three, they get darker. So you do have to keep an eye on it. And it does cook faster as the oil is hotter.
And the middle is done when?
The middle is done when it's a nice dark color. We'll cut open 2 pieces here in a few moments, and you'll be able to see that they're done. So what I do is I just make sure I keep moving them around and make sure that the oil gets right underneath them, so kind of give them a little lift up.
Kathy likes your...
And
Marcus likes it.
I'll turn it around here again, just so we can get on there. So now what I'll do is, actually I will shut off my oil, because this is probably going to be about another 30-40 seconds. This will be done. I'm going to get a plate.
Bobby Joe's already done.
Get a knife. So we'll take 1 and 1. So, ooh, it's hot. And so this is how your fry bread looks when it's done. This one is kind of skinny.
Cut it with a big knife.
I always use a big knife, makes up for my height. Those of us that are not very tall, oh, this one I kind of butchered up, but you'll see that the bread is cooked. And so,
I'm getting a shadow.
As you can see, the bread is all cooked. So this is how this is best. I like this.
Should we get that off the heat there?
Oh, not yet. So I'm just going to take a little piece off of this one. Put a little dab of butter.
Especially when it's hot.
As you can see, it's just a little dab. Not so much. And then, bon appetit. So, that is Blue's Kokum's Kitchen Corner, teaching you how to make fry bread.
And then what do you do with your oil afterwards?
When the oil is cooled down, I will remove it off of the heat altogether, because I don't want it to continue smoking. When the oil is completely cooled down, I will pour it into a mason jar, and then I'll save it, and I can use it one more time. So you can fry your fry bread twice with that oil before the viscosity of the oil breaks down, and then it won't heat up properly. So you can reuse your oil. As you're dumping it into a mason jar, just make sure you don't dump in any of the little flour bits that will be at the bottom. It'll just turn your oil dark. So you just want to use the oil. So I hope you enjoyed this broadcast. Be safe. Social distance yourself. Have fun. And if you want to learn how to make hangover soup, send me some messages. And if everybody agrees to that, maybe we'll do that on Tuesday for you. So thank you. Have a great evening.